The topic of my presentation is the Bilingual Verbal Ability Tests, which is a bilingual assessment tool. As a Spanish major, I hope to eventually work with the bilingual population as a speech-language pathologist, and I was interested in learning more about the different assessment tools that are available for testing bilingual individuals. The bilingual verbal ability tests are both a potential language and cognitive assessment tool. The purpose is to provide a measure of overall verbal ability in bilingual individuals. It is designed to be used in bilingual education, program placement and planning, clinical assessment of cognitive development, and research. According to the test manual, the bilingual verbal ability test was designed to take account of the realities of bilinguals' language development by assessing linguistic and conceptual knowledge that students possess regardless of the language source. And the test can be used independently as a language proficiency measure or together with the Woodcock-Johnson revised tests of achievement. And the Woodcock-Johnson tests of achievement are a series of tests that measure students' attainment of basic academic skills, fluency, and application. The bilingual verbal ability tests, it is a norm reference test. It is based on 3 subtests of the Woodcock-Johnson language proficiency battery revised. These 3 subtests include picture vocabulary, oral vocabulary, and verbal analogies. The test is for ages 5 through adult and grades kindergarten through 12th grade. The administration time is approximately 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the child's age and language proficiency. And the test has been translated from English into 16 other languages by educators and translators. This is a list of the different languages that are available, which include Arabic, Haitian Creole, Polish, German, Korean, Turkish, Japanese, Spanish, French, Russian, Italian, 2 forms of Chinese, Hindi, Portuguese, Navajo, and Vietnamese. The authors used a process of consensus translation where all of the words were translated. They were reviewed by educators or translators. The words were revised if the lead translator agreed with the reviewers on the status of the word. For administration, the examiner first completes the 3 subtests in English. Any item that is missed by the individual in English is then tested in their native language. So for the first subtest, picture vocabulary, subject names word represented by drawings in an easel book after they are pointed out by the examiner. For the oral vocabulary subtest, the individual gives a synonym or antonym of the word stated by the examiner. And for the verbal analogy subtest, the individual will complete a second pair of words based on an analogy with an initial pair of words stated by the examiner. So the format of this would be A is to B as C is to blank. And the test examiner will discontinue testing when the individual gives 6 to 8, depending on the subtest incorrect responses. Two scores are produced, a score for English and a score for bilingual verbal ability. There is a computer program used to score and generate interpretive score reports, which is called the Scoring Reporting System for the Bilingual Verbal Abilities Test. A narrative report of the subject's bilingual verbal ability, English language proficiency, and language use and exposure is produced by the program. So these scores can be used with scores of the Woodcock-Johnson revised tests of achievement if those scores are available. And so the program will use scores to compare bilingual verbal ability, which is the aptitude with achievement from the Woodcock-Johnson achievement tests. And then aptitude and achievement discrepancies are calculated and interpreted. And the program will explain if discrepancies are related to limitations of English language proficiency. The norms represent the monolingual English-speaking population, as bilingual ability was not a factor in selection of the sample. So it is based on 5,602 individuals between the ages of 5 and 90. A majority of the subjects, 3,213 of the subjects, were in grades kindergarten through 12th grade, as that is the age range that the test is most applicable to. For reliability, the median reliability for the first subtest, picture vocabulary, was a 0.89. For oral vocabulary, 0.90. For verbal analogies, also 0.90. And then the median reliability for the English language proficiency was 0.96. For validity, the test reports 5 small-scale concurrent validity studies, and the correlations are quite strong. For the pre-LAS, which is the language assessment scales, the correlation was 0.91 with kindergartners, and for the LAS, that was with second graders, and with a correlation of 0.86. The bilingual verbal ability tests, English language proficiency score correlates in the high 0.80s with measures of English language proficiency. Other verbal measure scores correlate with achievement test scores in the mid 0.80s. And bilingual verbal ability tests correlation with aptitude measures are lower. So the correlations are in support that the bilingual verbal ability tests have both educational relevance and validity. In conclusion, the bilingual verbal ability tests are a necessary assessment tool, as bilingual individuals have the knowledge of some things in one language, some things in another language, and some things in both English and their native or second language. Unlike traditional procedures that only allow the individual's ability to be measured in one language, the bilingual verbal ability tests allow for a more accurate representation of the individual's ability, as they are able to demonstrate all of their knowledge. And these are my references.